Sunbeam Sarnath's very own podcast show where we dive deeper into people, practices, and ideas that shape the way we live, heal, and grow. Dear audience, Dr. Frederick Luskin is one of the world's leading researchers and teachers on the subject of forgiveness. He is the founder and director of the Stanford Forgiveness Project, a clinical psychologist, and the author of the transformative book Forgive for Good. In a world that often prizes retribution over reconciliation, Dr. Fred offers us something rare, a practical, science-backed path to emotional freedom. So, whether you're carrying an old wound or simply curious about how to lighten your emotional load, this conversation is for you. Let's open our hearts and minds. Here's Dr. Frederick Luskin. Welcome to Beamcast. It is Sunbeam Sarnath's very own podcast show. And so it's such a pleasure and honor to have you here because, when we are in the generation of cancel culture and everybody has so much on their mind, especially us, then your book helps us a lot. Thank you so much for it, and thank you so much for joining. So let's start with, how are you feeling?
I could never turn down a 17-year-old kid from halfway around the world.
No, sir, it actually helps us, and thank you so much. So if you have to describe your book in 3 words, how would you?
What was that?
If you have to describe your book in 3 words, just 3 words, how would you?
My book?
Yeah.
We spent a long time trying to figure out exactly how and what forgiveness is. The book you have, Forgive for Good, was written 20 years ago. And it was the result of our research that helped us define forgiveness and tell people how to do it. 3 months ago, we published a follow-up called the Forgive for Good Workbook. And that workbook takes what we did 20 years ago and makes it absolutely step by step of how pretty much anybody could forgive anything if they want to. So the bottom line is that book is a practical, hands-on guide to forgiving either yourself or other people.
Thank you, sir. Sir, since your book is totally based on forgiveness, why forgiveness? Because, forgiveness is a very small topic and often neglected by people. So why forgiveness?
I can give you a couple reasons. One, a long time ago, I couldn't do it. I got badly hurt and it ruined my life for a while. And I was angry and I was full of self-pity. And I told everybody I met what a terrible human being the person who did it to me was. And so I was lost in unforgiveness and grievance, lost. My wife came to me at the time and told me to grow up. Even stronger than that, she said, Fred, I still love you. I just don't like you so much. You are not doing well with your life. So that was like a shove. And it made me reflect on, well, what the hell am I doing? And it was only at that point, after a couple of years of misery, that it got into my head, well, Fred, you're going to have to let this go. You're going to have to forgive him. That's your only exit. So I was dragged kicking and screaming into forgiveness. That was my personal thing, right? Not long after that, I was a graduate student at Stanford, and I had to come up with a dissertation topic. And because forgiveness was so damn hard for me, I figured it must be hard for other people. So I used my dissertation as a platform to try out what had helped me with other people. So those were the two streams that led to me doing forgiveness work.
That's actually very relatable for us also. Yeah,
We're all in the same boat.
I feel now. So, sir, in your book, you have written that forgiveness is for us and not for the person who hurt us. So, why is that distinction important?
Well, it can be for both, but it's not too easy to do it for someone else. So let's say that you said something during this interview that got me upset, right? And you leave and I leave. Even though you might have been the one to say something harsh, I'm the only one suffering. Like you're off living your life and you're fine, and you could think this was a great interview. And I'm sitting there with steam coming out of my ears. So I have to forgive to rescue me. Do you understand? Like it's not to rescue you, it's to rescue me. Sometimes I forgive because I want to keep a good relationship with you. Like I want us to be at peace. So I forgive you so that I can again rejoin a relationship with you. But I do that because it's what I want.
Okay. So, as you said, that you want to maintain and keep on that relationship, but sometimes some people are, like they don't care what we want. Even if we
That's
keep on
right.
forgiving them, they keep on
That's right.
hurting sentiments.
And that's why you can't forgive for them. The other reason you can't forgive for them is, let's say I was offended by something you said, right? You may think that everything you said was perfect. Like I may take offense and you may not buy it, and I might not even be right. You know what I mean? Like I might have just taken offense. It doesn't mean that it's real. And so you have to be careful. The problem with unforgiveness is with the unforgiving person.
Okay, sir. So in your book, you have, emphasized on a 9-step process
Yes.
related to unforgiveness. Sorry, forgiveness. So can you please, give us a brief about that to our audience who have not read your book yet?
What's the hardest of the 9 steps? Is
Yeah.
that what?
No, you can just go ahead with the 9-step process and what was the most hardest among them?
There's a couple. It's not just one. The first step that's really hard is the one that you just said. Forgiveness is about me, not them. So the pithy statement is, I forgive not because you deserve it, but because I deserve it.
Yeah.
So that's one. The second hard step is, even if you did something that offended me while we're interviewing, it's not your fault that I'm upset about it. Like you may have done something wrong, but I don't have to be bothered by it for the next 2 months. So, not blaming someone else for being upset is a very hard step in forgiveness. And the last really challenging step is to stop talking about the past and start talking about the present and the future. Those are the big challenges of forgiveness.
Okay, sir. So, sir, in this research, you already told us about the most challenging steps. So, what was the most fascinating thing, the most interesting thing, or the most unexpected thing you found that you couldn't?
There's a number of them. One, how hard it is. It's really hard for us human beings when we've been hurt to let go of that, to just accept that hurt is a part of life and that we can handle it without having to hold on to it and make a life story about it. I was surprised at how difficult that is for people. Second, I was gratified that we could actually teach people to do this. You have no idea what a wonderful thing that is. It's like if you're really burdened by something and you open a book or you listen to a lecture or you come to a class and we can teach you a method that helps you move on, what a wonderful thing that is. It's like that's a wonderful privilege opportunity. And I didn't know that when we started. The last surprising thing is the bad things that happen to people. How bad it is doesn't always predict how much or how long they stay upset about something. So some people can have really awful things happen to them, and 2 years later, they're fine. I mean, fine. Other people can have little things happen to them, and 2 years later, they're still stuck. That's a surprise to me. I would have thought the worse the offense, the worse the reaction, and that's not always so.
So, sir, this is out of the questions which we have given you. This is like, how was the journey? Was it very interesting, or was there a lot of ups and downs in them?
It's harder than you would have thought. It is not easy to talk often to people who have been harmed. Think it's like being a doctor and you only see sick people. It's really hard to see that much human suffering. Secondly, it can be shocking to hear how badly people treat each other. Sometimes you go like what planet am I on? What's wrong with people? They do really awful things to each other, and that's painful. I mean, it's really painful. I once sat in a room with 17 people who were there only because somebody had murdered a family member. And you think about that, you just think about what kind of world is this? And what the heck are people doing that, we could so easily find 17 people who had immediate family members killed. So that's the first thing. It's hard. The second piece is every now and then you see such human dignity and glory that you can't believe it. You see people at their best also that, they've been really badly treated and they don't want anybody else to suffer. Or, they've been hurt and they They just want to make amends and reconcile. And so you see, I have seen great human dignity in ways that you wouldn't expect. For me personally, I get bored if I teach the same thing too often. So I've had to go in and out, maybe one year I'll teach it a lot, and the next year I'm so bored, so I can only teach it a bit. I can't say the same thing over and over and over again.
So what's that misconception that today's generation have and you wish they could understood about
Well, the
forgiveness?
misconceptions are some of the biggest obstacles to forgiveness. People think that forgiveness means you have to go and be nice to the person who hurt you or rejoin something. That's reconciliation. It's not the same. Forgiveness from the heart doesn't mean you can't take somebody to court. That's justice. They're not the same. You can forgive, open your heart back up, and still demand that your ex-husband pay child support. So justice and reconciliation are not the same. And forgiveness does not mean that what they did was okay. You're not making it okay. You're saying it was wrong and I don't need to suffer from it forever. So if let's say you did say something that was, harsh, I could say, that young lady screwed up, okay. So I was upset about her for a day. The next day, it's like, hey, everybody screws up sometimes. And why do I expect people to be perfect? You see, but it's not saying that it didn't happen. It's saying it happened and that I've grown past it. And most people don't know that. They think they're stuck. And the last thing, forgiveness does not mean you forget. You can't forget. What you do is remember it differently. And that's the power of it, that you remember what happened through a different lens. And that's how forgiveness is healing.
Yes, sir. So, sir, just related to that, an advice you would want to give today's generation, like regarding.
Yeah. Well, the best advice is use forgiveness most with the people you love. Like if somebody that you don't know does something obnoxious, let it go. Don't even worry about it. Doesn't matter. Be pissed off if you want. But if you have close family and friends, you want to actively forgive them so it doesn't sabotage your relationship and you don't descend into bitterness. That is one of the great things you can do in your world is forgive yourself and other people so you can stay in loving relationship. Second piece of advice is if you're trying to forgive, start with something small, not big. Right? I mean, if you're going to play the piano, don't start with Mozart, start with scales. So if you're going to forgive, don't forgive the worst thing in your life. Forgive something manageable. Practice it. Get used to it. And gradually bite off bigger chunks.
Yes, sir. So, do you think social media helps or hurts forgiveness? What do you think?
I think all of technology has hurt our ability to forgive because it makes it harder for us to pay attention. It makes us less people oriented. And it keeps us distracted and stressed. So it's harder for us to find our best self, and it's harder for us to value other people. Those are two global problems that interfere with forgiveness.
Uh, Sir, if I talk about forgiveness, we, the youth of today's generation, we go on listening to songs and investing our time in hobbies. So, what is that one song which helps you in forgiving someone or something like that?
What is a song? That the oh man, I'm blanking on the title. It's one of the Eagles singer. Oh, the heart of the matter, and it's forgiveness, even though you don't love me anymore. That is the strongest song I have ever heard on forgiveness.
Okay, sir. So, uh, so this is the going to be our last question. So,
Fine.
so what's one thing people should never say when asking for forgiveness?
What's something they should never say? What does that mean?
Because sometimes we go on and if we ask for forgiveness to someone and we say such things that ultimately hurts them much more than it ever did. So what's that something?
If we want to ask people to forgive us,
Yes.
good question. Before you ask them to forgive you, make sure that you feel real remorse. Make sure you feel bad for what you did or what you didn't do. Don't make them do the heavy lifting. Feel genuine remorse. Apologize for what you did. Try to make it right before you do anything where you're asking anybody else to help you. The other piece of advice is when you ask somebody, genuinely ask them, don't tell them. Like, can I talk to you? Not, you need to talk to me. Can I ask you something? Not, I need you to listen to me. You can share with them that it's hard on you, but make it a real question where they can say no. And then if they say yes, it has real meaning and power.
Okay. So it was actually very, great listening to you because when we read the book and then actually go talk to the author, it's very, good for it to listen to you. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
It's very sweet of you to want to talk to me. So thank you. And I appreciate, you're a kid. It's wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.